It's Monday morning, and it's a brand new week as well. So come on. Let's just say Happy New Month to you out there listening. And if you're joining us via terrestrial radio 92.7, we say thank you so very much. Have a good run of September. And if you're joining us, via the World Wide Web, listen via the website at www.flowfm97.com. We wish you nothing less of what was said earlier. Welcome. Let's get into the conversation this morning. This is the headline news analysis. My name is Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you so much for joining us on the analysis, and Happy New Month to you. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
Happy New Month.
Oh, thank you very much.
And Happy New Week as well,
Happy
too.
New Week.
Yeah.
How was your weekend as well?
Oh, well, the weekend was okay. Yeah, it was fine.
All right, that's great. The views to be expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or the staff therein, but as expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. Also, this is to remind you that we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook at FlowFM 927, so you can get on either of these apps and get in on live action happening in the studios right now. Let's get into the stories. We have a couple of stories to talk about, and you can also call in on 0807-777-9927 to be part of the conversation on any of the news stories that we'll be picking, or anyone that you see in the national dailies you'd like to talk about. Let's pick this one up. Human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has urged the federal, state, and FCT governments to expand the free cesarean section initiative to cover all indigent pregnant women in the country. Now, he noted that while the Federal Ministry of Health and the National Health Insurance Authority have already begun implementing the program in selected hospitals under the Maternal Mortality Reduction Innovation Initiative and the Comprehensive Emergency Obstetric and Neonatal Care, extending nationwide will significantly reduce maternal and infant mortality rates in Nigeria. And there's been facts to show that the maternal mortality rates in Nigeria is very high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's the right call.
Mm-hmm.
We have always said that, the health sector is currently distressed in Nigeria. And one of those, indicators is this issue of, when women give birth, the birth, the circumstances surrounding women giving birth, it is so expensive. And gradually you're seeing a lot of issues where most women don't, they find extremely difficult to give birth naturally, and they resort to cesarean operation. And a lot of factors are responsible for this. You talk of the kind of dietary that happens these days. Most of the women that we have, the kind of things they eat, when they are pregnant, tends to give the kids, the babies are usually heavier. So in those instances they need cesarean operation. And it's very expensive. I don't know. The last time it's about close to 130,000 naira. That's even in a moderately, affordable hospital in Ilorin here. So you are now talking of indigent people who can't even, they cannot even go for prenatal, postnatal. They can't even afford the transport to those places. Asking them to cover that kind of money. What happens? So, and again, when you look at most, because of things like that, most women, when they go to hospitals, when they recommend cesarean to them, they prefer the midwives. They go straight to the traditional midwives. And those midwives are not equipped to do that kind of a thing. And usually what results at the end of the day is that they might have the baby, but the mothers losing their lives. And that is one of those things that contribute to maternal mortality in Nigeria. So I'm aware too that in fact, in most instances too, when women give birth naturally, there is always complications, post birth complications. An issue of the VVF coming up, and I know that there is a program. I was aware of one program at Aisha Buhari Mother and Child Hospital in Nyankori, where people who have done VVF operations are now called to come back, that there is a package for them. That I don't know how effective it is, because the few people I interviewed at some point said nobody has reached out to them. That they took their name, they captured their name, but nothing has happened so far. You see, the cesarean operation, affords, it kind of reduces the cost you do at the postnatal stages, when people have to now go for an extra operation to fix themselves so that they can be fit, they can stay alive and take care of their children. And women can be, how am I going to stay healthy after giving birth? So what we are talking about, what Falana has raised, is a germane issue in our health sector, especially for women. And we have always said that in terms of women development in Nigeria, our indices is very low, very, very low. And something has to be done.
Nicholas, let's talk about this quick. And I think a lot of Nigerians can and will be able to relate to this. You know, this cesarean section that we'll talk about, which is called CS, and which is more like an operation.
Yeah.
You hear how much of knowledge do Nigerian women first have about this operation, this mode of childbirth? You've heard and you will confirm that a lot of women, Nigerian women and families, pray against CS.
Exactly.
It's a prayer point that you understand. So I think the level of education is so low, and because
very, very
the
low.
Orientation is low,
Terribly low.
In the part where government is playing and trying to reduce the MMR, that's the maternal mortality rate. Where is the place of education and orientation as to know this is a safe mode of childbirth for you? But hey, we don't understand that in Nigeria.
I think, like you rightly pointed out, the knowledge is very low. The orientation is poor. And I think the right point where you can do that is first at the antenatal, when they come in from their usual, therapy, this kind of closed circuit thing that you have with mothers. You have them clap their hands, you tell them what kind of food to eat and things like that. That is where it's at that point that you tell them. Then again, you see, religious leaders are not even helping. When they make it a prayer point in church that you will not go through cesarean, it's like cesarean is a bad thing. Cesarean operation is bad. It's the wish of the devil that you go through cesarean. And as a matter of fact, cesarean has been there for thousands of years. And as a matter of fact, cesarean, came about. It's an operation that was conducted on a Roman emperor called Caesar. So I think he was about the first recorded case of where the woman's a stomach was cut open to save the child. So it was from that point they got that name, cesarean operation. So it's been there for thousands of years. You understand? In the more developed economies, it's a natural thing. In fact, most women don't go through the natural childbirth process anymore. It's through cesarean. Because of what it does to the vaginal path, and things. Considering the fact that most because they have an improved health system, both pre and postnatal, that is the weight of the baby is often big, and so it has to go through in another process so that it doesn't destroy the pathway through which it comes out naturally. So that is what you have. Like you rightly said, it's about orientation. It's not just about just what we're doing on radio now. It should be something that is as serious as what we did during the HIV/AIDS, COVID-19 thing. The whole polloi. I mean, the ordinary people, they don't have access to them. How many women sit down and listen to the kind of program we're talking about? I'm talking of women who did not even go to school, who don't have the kind of sophisticate to to connect to the kind of things we're talking about. But I think where the problem actually is getting those same midwives we're talking about. Because I know that the health system has a robust rural outreach to midwives. There are lots of programs where they retrain and train them again. Because they know most women don't have access to hospital. So they train those midwives. So those midwives could be trained. Yeah, they can be trained to understand when a woman needs a CS. You understand? And not just because of money. There is a way you can incentivize them. When you incentivize them to know that, look, that is the number of women you bring into the health system to have CS, there is a kind of, support that you get, that is in exchange. If you go to all these mushroom hospitals, all these dispensaries, local private dispensaries, you will be shocked at the kind of things that they do, the kind of practice that they have in these hospitals. You will be shocked. You have people that is, barely equipped to even do local dispensary, doing operation, having childbirth within that facility. And at the end of the day, what happens is you have a lot of mortality. You know, there was one particular case around my area that is till tomorrow. I keep on, saying that, in a country where there is a proper supervisory, supervision in terms of health delivery, things like that will not happen. That kind of institution will not even exist. So, but this is Nigeria, and now we have been, Falana is reminding us that we have a lot of role to play. It's not just about bringing, the experts going on TV, on tubes, and saying things and things that does not connect with the ordinary man on the street. It is more like reaching out to those local outreaches that gets to them eventually,
All right. 0807-777-9927 is number to call to be part of the conversation and the analysis this morning. Let's move to another story. Let's go to Rivers. Actually, the All Progressives Congress has secured a sweeping victory in the Rivers State local government elections, winning 20 out of 23 council areas contested on Saturday, August 30th, as announced by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission in Port Harcourt on Sunday. Now, APC's victory spanned several parts of the state with strong performances in the Ahoada East, Akuku, Toro, Andoni, a lot of places. And the outcome underscores the growing influence in the APC in Rivers politics.
Well, you see, that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. We have an emergency rule happening there that was installed by an APC government. So definitely, you should expect that to happen. Then, of course, now this is not to condemn just the APC for doing that. No, anywhere you have the ruling party being the governor, producing the governor, you have like the same Labour Party as in Abia State, PDP as in Osun State, and things like that. So you will always have things like that. But you see, this is where the problem gets complicated. Now, there were a lot of challenges to the process. Having a man that was installed via emergency rule conduct a democratically elected election doesn't even make sense. And a lot of things have been said about it. And now, considering the challenges and a lot of things that has been happening, you understand, you now bring the Osun State case where, local government funds are being seized because the governor attempted to do the same thing that has been done over there. You understand, you have his resources seized. So you see, all these things are convoluted in, when you look at it, it's so convoluted, it's so confusing. At some point, you then ask, what kind of democracy are we practicing in this country? You understand? This is not, it's not an APC, PDP thing. No. What we are saying is that, regardless, the more things change, the more they look the same. We are talking of a federal government that took the state governors to court on local government autonomy. You understand? At the end of the day, you have more confusion than what used to be in the past. So now, I know a lot of people will say, yes, that there's very little the president can do. And to a large extent, to some extent, I agree with that. But again, I think the federal government must show spunk, must show example, in states where things are not being done properly. You see, and the best way to do it is the FG, the ruling party, must make an example of its own member first so that every other person will follow suit. So the Rivers thing, I don't know. You see, and River is so critical because we are talking of, that is where you have one of the highest revenue generation, and the oil, it's a very volatile place. You cannot afford to have that kind of politics play there. You understand? And when you look at it, there is a letter that was, I saw an open letter endorsed by key stakeholders in River State. We were talking of people who have voices, railing against that before the conduct of that election, saying that they are not comfortable with the process being put in place. I think that kind of protest shouldn't be ignored. You understand?
Well, Nicholas, why do you think a lot of people are condemning, the sole administrator conducting this election? Of course, he was handled, by the River State's, Independent Electoral Commission. He can we say that he provided logistics or, things, for the state electoral body to conduct the election, or it's otherwise? Again, if you look at 1993, let's take a look back, when General Ibrahim Babangida, conducted the election. So is there any any rule or any law that says it cannot be under, a sole administrator or something like that.
You cannot compare a sole administrator, under a democratic dispensation with, a maximum rulership that you have in the case of IBB, because it is quite clear that, as it were, the military is an interim arrangement to correct certain things. You understand? In the process of trying to correct, they experiment, they make, democratic provisions, as a way of exiting the stage. You understand? And moreover, when you look at it, it was kind of open, when IBB did what it did. It was very open. You had the option A4 and things like that. And it's, there was a lot of transparency that happened. And that is why today we can talk of June 12th. You can talk of an acclaimed winner. Because the situation was so transparent. You understand? But you see, in a democratic situation, before you can institute an emergency rule, there are rules that ought to be followed. You understand? In the case of IBAC in Rivers State, there is a lot of outrage that the rules were not followed, that there was no need for the emergency rule. So that controversy was even there. It was more like, rather than have, Wike controlling the governor, because it was more or less like the governor, the state was slipping out of Wike's hand. That was why federal government that he's working for had to come in forcefully. That is the impression out there. So that is why you have that kind of outrage. You understand? It's more or less like, everything is now being done to capture Rivers at all costs. That is the impression a lot of people have, a lot of the opposition have. And you're not going to blame them for saying that, because they're not going to keep quiet. Because in the last how many years, Rivers State has always been within the fold of the opposition. PDP.
Obviously, yes.
You understand? So all of a sudden, you just wake up one day and say, APC just swept the whole place? No, now. How about?
All right. Let's also look at this. We're hearing reports that in a couple of weeks, I think around about September 18th or thereabout, that the state will return to normalcy.
Well,
and the normalcy will be restored to the state where, the governor will be reinstated, and then this interim government will exit. What do you foresee?
What I think is going to happen is this. You see, the process of channeling the resources of Rivers State to the third tier of government, the local government, will have been firmed up. It will be very difficult for the governor who comes in to interfere with it, like it is happening in most states. So because as it were now, the loyalty of those local government chairmen will be to somebody else, not to the governor. Not to the governor. It's not going to happen. So it's not going to. Forget it. So for me, you see, I think in a way it is very good. You understand? Because you see, if I were, that is Fubara, that is if he comes back, if he decides to take up the thing and take up the rulership and come back, it will now be an opportunity for him to prove himself, to make Rivers an example of how real autonomy for local government works. You understand? Because if he's able to do his duty, you understand, and of course he has the wherewithal to monitor the resources that goes to the state, to the local governments. You understand? And when he can call them out, when they do, otherwise he can call them out. Then, of course, at that point, it's not left for federal government; it's left for the security agencies to see whether,
Is it not looking like, the suspended governor, if he does return, he doesn't have control of the state assembly, and he doesn't appear to have the loyalty of the local government chairman.
He appears to be a lame duck. Yeah,
okay. I was just going to ask you that. So.
It appears to be a lame duck. But you see, I have always argued that, look, it's about the kind of person you elected. Let us not forget the process with which Fubara came on board. Fubara was not prepared to be a governor. You understand? That is on level playing field, he wouldn't have even picked the party ticket. He was foisted on the party and on the state. You understand? So it is quite different from. Then, of course, you have to look at the kind of character that he is. As far as I'm concerned, I think he is a weak character. You understand? Because I'm saying this because I have seen governors who were brought in by, godfathers. And they turned against Godfather and they won. A very good example is Ngige.
Chris Ngige. Dr.
Chris
Chris
Ngige.
Ngige.
Yeah, he was kidnapped at some point. Have we forgotten? You understand? So that kind of rascality did not start today. If he was kidnapped by the so-called godfathers, he got back and he performed well. He has a very good record in Anambra State. You understand? Then of course you have what is happening in Kaduna State. By every standard, El-Rufai should be a godfather. A very powerful to Basani. But look at what is happening in Kaduna State. You have a lot of instances like that has happened. It happened here in Kwara State. Have we forgotten the case of Lawal and Saraki? Baba Saraki. Yes, and he turned against him, but even though he did not win a re-election. But the fact is, he was his own man throughout the tenure. So sometimes it's about the character of the person that you put there. As far as I'm concerned, Fubara is a very weak character. He's not for me, he's not fit for purpose as far as governing that state is concerned. Let us not, Wike knew the reason why he put him there.
Right.
So in the event where he doesn't take it up September 15, what happens to the state? Does the
of course the deputy governor, that is if the deputy governor decides if it's hasn't resigned.
I think she's a woman.
She's a woman, of course. Then can take somebody he resigns. The constitution is very clear on how you can remove a governor: resignation, impeachment, or maybe he's incapacitated. You understand? So that is as simple as that. The constitution is not blind.
Well, I hope it's not too early to speculate, but I think just for to put in the this message to Nigerians, it's going to be another election for Rivers. He has not completed his first term. Do you see the governor, if he does return, getting a re-election?
That would be a tall order. No. That would be tall, very, very tall. Because you see, well, again, it's politics again.
Anything
because
can happen, just like football.
Yeah, exactly. Because gradually there is a kind of sympathy for him. That is a victim of the political, machinations of certain people within Abuja that made him what he is. So he has some level of sympathy. So if within the opposition in Rivers State they feel that, look, supplanting him, might not work. He could. What stops him from getting there? Immediately he gets there, he switch over to another party. You can't remove him. Then all these impeachment things like that. If he's willing to wield the power that he has as a governor, he would dismantle all these things. You understand? But I don't see that in him. That's what I'm saying. You see, look, the Nigerian governor is very powerful. You understand? It's not just the kind of person because the kind of resources, the kind of security information he has, and all those things. The deals he has entered into, the people who have staked certain things in him. It's not what and for someone who is a strategic state like Rivers State, it's not somebody you ignore.
0807 777 9927. That number connects you directly to the studio this morning. Let's take this call.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. What is your name and where you calling from?
Okay, this is Michael from Ilorin.
All right, please go ahead with your comment.
Okay, so on Rivers issue, yes, they've had their local government election and all the illegalities that have happened. There was even a court order barring, I think it was ADC also, that wanted a court injunction against the election board. That meaning they couldn't get it. All efforts to ensure that the election didn't take place never worked out. Remember that when the president proclaimed state of emergency, he later introduced a particular clause barring or how will I use the word, the particular clause giving the Rivers State Electoral Committee all the laws that is under Rivers State Electoral. There was something he reviewed in the emergency law that they are stepping down that law, and there were some shenanigans that they did. Well, it is what it is right now. It's for the people. But just like what your guest was saying, I don't see Fubara coming back. It's a question of Ambode. Everybody, opposition, they try to see how they can bring Ambode back to Lagos as second term, but he knows what is on ground. He couldn't dare to come back. So the same thing with Fubara. Remember, Fubara had an EFCC issue before he became the governor, and the likes of Wike, they were the one that stepped down the case. So I'm sure he has a lot of things against Fubara. So, but it is what it is. The people of Rivers will have to decide their future in 2027. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much. 0807 777 let's quickly touch on this story or briefly introduce it. If we cannot delve into it properly, we'll pick it up tomorrow. And it has to do with jungle justice. This time around, for no justifiable reason, people take part in this, very, very embarrassing human acts. Here's a story of a woman identified as a Maye, was lynched and set ablaze by a mob in Kasuwan, Gadba, Mariga local government area of Niger State over alleged blasphemous remarks against the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him. And this is not just something that just happened.
Yeah, it's a routine in some part of Nigeria, especially the north, and it's a very sad development, really. And you see, something must be stated here. It is, when they say blasphemy and mob killing that attends it, there is always a tendency to think it's only Christians that are involved. Muslims are even lynched as well. Just make any frustrating remarks about that appears, to have the blasphemous content, and you have the mob, but put you up for killing. So you see, it has endured because we have a country where examples are not made from people who do things like that. Ordinarily, if you see a thief, you hear thief, and they kill that person, if the police lays hands on those people who kill that person, it's murder. Don't forget the case of the Alo. The case of the Alo 4.
Yeah.
You understand? Those people are paying dearly. So, but I think to a very large extent, you see, in as much as the federal government has been very weak in enforcing the law in the north, I think northerners should take the mirror and look at themselves, because this is an appeal that we are making, because it's going to get to a point where there will be what you call a saturation point, where things like that routine killing might just be, that spark that set the keg of gunfire, gunpowder on fire. You understand? You see, you might have an instance where it's a very, very gross mistake that might lead to a very big conflagration. Yeah. So northern leaders should really do something about it, honestly.
And then what is the role of traditional rulers and that as well too? Maybe we'll pick it up tomorrow.
They are part of it. Maybe we'll pick up this tomorrow.
We should pick it up.
Because there are so many things to be said, under that, matter.
Our time is fast spent.
Thank you, Nicholas, for providing analysis this morning, and we also thank you, Michael, for your contributions. The views expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or any of the staff therein, but solely as expressed by the resident analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. Thank you so very much for your comment. Tomorrow is another day, 8 to 8:30, exclusive to FlowFM 92.7, the headline news analysis. My name is Dayo Adeyemi.
I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us tomorrow from 8 o'clock to 8:30, God willing. Have a wonderful day.